All right, welcome to Talking Investing. I am Tom, and as always, this is not financial advice. Today, I want to talk about CORZ Scientific, stock ticker CORZ. They are a Bitcoin mining company, and they put out their August monthly operational update. So we cover Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners all the time on this channel. If that's content that you guys are interested in, please remember to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Also, if everybody could smash the like button, it's helping out the channel a lot, and I appreciate it. So I want to thank everybody for your continued support. Let's talk about CORZ Scientific. Okay, so they closed the week on the NASDAQ here at $2.26. On Friday, they were up 9%, a little over 9%. So Friday was a very green day for all the Bitcoin miners. Bitcoin was way up. Bitcoin was also up about 9 or 10% itself in that one day. So all the Bitcoin miners moved along with that. The market was actually up altogether on Friday as well. So I don't think this massive move to the upside has anything to do with the operational report that we were going to look at. It's just that Bitcoin had a big rally, so the Bitcoin miners had a big rally as well. But even with that big rally and the nice update that they had, this is still only an $807 million market cap. So there may be some reasons for that, and I want to talk about what I'm looking for them to do over the next few months to get on track and maybe get this market cap back up where I think it belongs. Again, this is not financial advice, but I'm going to walk you through what I'm looking at. This is a chart of CORZ Scientific's market cap since they went public. They were a SPAC before that. I'm not including that data. They were at much higher numbers, and so I'm going to go forward from the time that they went public as stock ticker CORZ, which was at the beginning of the year 2022. So you're going to see earlier in the year, they were a $3.35 billion company. We had a nice relief rally in July and the first 2 weeks of August. They got back to over $1 billion, and now they've pulled back from that. So they're at about $800 million right now. So you can see they're significantly off of their lows. This is even just their lows from February. And remember, Bitcoin was much, much lower in February of 2022 than its all-time high in November of 2021, which is when most of the other Bitcoin miners hit their all-time highs. So the bottom line of all this is the market cap of CORZ Scientific is way, way down. We'll dig into that more when we take a look at the charts at the end of the video. Okay, CORZ Scientific announces August updates. All right, their bullet points say operating approximately 225,000 owned and co-located ASIC servers. So they do host for others. So those 225,000, those are not all their machines. That's not all self-mining. We are going to break those numbers out. The vast majority of this company's potential is in their self-mining. CORZ Scientific self-mining operations produced 1,334 Bitcoin in August, so I will tell you, that was an all-time record for CORZ Scientific. So that's the good news. Later, I'm going to show you why that number is not necessarily as good as it should be, in my opinion, but I do think it's going to get even better from here. Self-mining Bitcoin production benefited from the deployment of 17,000 new servers during the month, increased curtailment activity across multiple data centers, limited production advances. So that is going to be a big theme. We're going to take a look at these summer months. They participated in energy curtailment across all their facilities, which obviously is working with the community and it's helping the local grid significantly. But it's one of the reasons why you're going to see, I think their numbers are going to increase significantly over the next few months, because the summer is over and a lot of the curtailment they've had to do is going to be dialed way back or eliminated for the next several months. The company expanded its fleet of self-mining servers during the month to 127,716, increasing hash rate to 12.69. So that is their self-mining hash rate, 12.69. That is by far the biggest of any publicly traded Bitcoin mining company in North America. This makes them one of the biggest Bitcoin mining companies in the world. And you're going to see when we get to the charts and in my monthly updates I show, I mean, they mine significantly more than double the next closest Bitcoin miner. And these numbers are going to go up, I believe, significantly in the next 3 or 4 months. The company expects to deploy approximately 43,000 additional self-mining ASIC servers before the end of the year 2022. So that should get them to about 17 exahash plus or minus. That's their goal for the end of the year. So again, we should see some spectacular numbers out of them in months to come. Just a note, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later, Bitcoin sales and liquidity. During the month of August, the company sold 1,125 Bitcoin at an average price of $23,014 per Bitcoin. Total proceeds of $25.9 million. So over the last several months, they have been selling Bitcoin. I put together some numbers to show you just how much Bitcoin they've sold. They've sold by far more Bitcoin than any other company has mined in the year 2022. Okay, so let's take a look at some of this stuff graphically. It's a little easier to view this way. So this is their production. The first time they ever reported production was in January. They reported their December 2021 production, and they've done a monthly update ever since. So they went public in January, so that makes sense. So you'll see over the last this is 9 months of data. There's not a huge variance in the amount of Bitcoin that they have mined. Now, the last 2 months in a row are the best 2 months they've ever had from a number of Bitcoin mined perspective. So 1,221 last month was their all-time record. This month they beat that with 1,334. But you can see in general, they've been over 1,000 for 9 months now. If we just look at this little chart right here, you're going to see that basically in December of 2021, they had 6.6 exahash. So in the 8 months subsequent to that, they have increased their self-mining exahash to 12.69. So that's not quite a double, but very close to 100% increase in their mining capacity. And that extra 6 exahash that they've added this year, that's more than any other company even has in total lifetime to date. So they've added more exahash in the year 2022 than any other company even has right now. So you can see they are dramatically larger than most of the rest of the companies. But what I wanted to show you is this increase from 6.6 to 12.69 is a massive increase in exahash. But again, if we look at this chart, you're going to see a pretty minimal increase in their productivity over the last 8 months. So I want to show you another chart that kind of quantifies this. I have just a very simple calculation that I do for all these companies, and I call it my efficiency calculation, and it's very straightforward. It's just basically in the month, how much was their exahash rate and how many Bitcoin did they mine. So I want to take a look at that because this is a chart that for Core Scientific has been trending pretty dramatically in the wrong direction all year. Now, I do think there's a reason for that, and I think that this is going to reverse over the next several months. However, this is what I'm going to be looking absolutely most closely at because it makes no difference if you have twice as much or 3 times as much exahash as everybody else. If the mining is inefficient and you're not mining Bitcoin from them, then they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, and the machines then are costing you too much money. So you'll see back in December and January, they were up around 158 Bitcoin per exahash. I will tell you, these are outlying numbers. I haven't seen anybody else achieve these numbers, and I don't expect Core Scientific to get back to these numbers, nor do they need to get back to these numbers to succeed. They dipped down to 120 for whatever reason in February, but if you look at March, April, and May, so that's really before the big curtailments started, they were between 124 and 138. So 130 is the number that I consider a good number. If your mining efficiency is 130 Bitcoin per exahash or more, I think those are the companies that are going to succeed over the long term. And remember, their exahash has to continue to grow because the difficulty level continues to grow. So in order to keep this efficiency in balance, you need more machines, and obviously you need to mine more Bitcoin. So if we look at the summer months, June, July, and August, you're going to see this was 107 Bitcoin per exahash, and then 112 Bitcoin, and now this last month was the lowest one of all. So despite the fact that they mined the most Bitcoin they've ever mined in their history, they actually mined it very inefficiently at 105 Bitcoin per exahash. Now, they disclosed, they told us they're participating in curtailment. They're allowing these communities to use the energy for other things at peak energy times, and I think that's an important part of the entire Bitcoin mining ecosystem and infrastructure that they cooperate in this way because this helps actually expand the grid and support the grid. But there is a cost to it. Their efficiency rating goes down. This is the balance that allows Bitcoin mining to be a positive thing. What I'd like to see is for them to get back to these 124, 126, 138 was great. 128 to 131. Anybody who's operating in that area, in that level of efficiency, I think that's what everybody should be targeting for. If they beat that, then that's great. So if they can get back up to that, you're going to see them start to mine 1,600 Bitcoin a month, 1,800 Bitcoin a month, 2,000 Bitcoin a month. So I think by the end of the year, based on their projections of exahash growth, December should be a 2,000 Bitcoin month of production. So 2,000, you can see right now their all-time record was this month at 1,334. So I am looking for them to hit 2,000 Bitcoin mined in the month of December. So that's just a little benchmark I've set for myself. I do think this company is headed in the right direction. They went through some hard times and they had to sell a lot of Bitcoin. They have a large amount of debt, so their balance sheet is not necessarily as strong as some of their direct competitors. However, mining this amount of Bitcoin does allow them to generate, they got they generated $25 million of cash by selling the Bitcoin, and they didn't even sell all the Bitcoin they mined in the month. Okay, so this is a chart I put together. This is just some quick numbers since they went public. You're going to see initially they were hodling 100% of their Bitcoin. So they started this year with 6,373 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. In January, February, March, and April, they sold no Bitcoin. So they continued that philosophy until, unfortunately, the pressure became too much. The price of Bitcoin was getting too low, and they have a lot of debt that they have to service. So in May, they started selling Bitcoin. And you can see in May, they sold 2,698 Bitcoin. They sold over 7,000 in June, and now over almost 2,000 in July and over 1,000 in August. So as a matter of coincidence, they have currently sold exactly 13,000 Bitcoin in the year 2022. So that's a staggering number of Bitcoin that they have had to sell to keep doing what they're doing. But it is helping them increase their exahash. It will help them increase their output of Bitcoin. So I do believe they are achieving their goals, but it has come at some cost, and that cost is 13,000 Bitcoin. So all of these companies can't expect to hodl all their Bitcoin forever. So this is the first time in 4 months they've been able to mine more than they sold. Let's see if that trend continues. So these are some of the things I'm going to be looking for. Okay, this is their chart zoomed out. Okay, so since they went public, you can see their all-time high was up here around $11.56. And again, Bitcoin was already way off of its all-time high. So CORZ Scientific never really had that blow-off top in November that a lot of these Bitcoin miners had because they were trading as a SPAC at that point. Okay, so even from this high in February of 2022, they are still currently 80% off of that high. So you can see there's still a massive pullback. And we saw that when we looked at their market cap analysis. So this is still a company that has a lot of room to the upside, in my opinion. Now, obviously, Bitcoin has to get a little healthier than it is right now. So as Bitcoin approaches some other numbers, and we don't know what the time frame that is, but as Bitcoin approaches 25,000, 30,000, if it could get back into that $35,000 to $40,000 price range, you know, CORZ Scientific, we just saw they've already added 6 exahash to their mining in the year 2022. They plan on adding 4 more. So that's by far more than doubling their operations in the year 2022. So, you know, the potential upside here is huge, but obviously it's massively reliant on 2 things. Number 1, what happens to the price of Bitcoin? So how long does it take Bitcoin to recover? And number 2, how do they do on their efficiency? Is this curtailment process over for the time being? Are they going to get back to something between 125 and 130 Bitcoin mined per exahash on the average? If they do all those things and Bitcoin has a recovery, I do think there's a lot of upside to this stock. Okay, so if I zoom in a little bit, let's talk about downside first. If they were to revisit their all-time lows, which they hit in June, so that was on June 30th, and then they retested that in the middle of July on July 14th. So that leaves about 37 or 38% to the downside if they were to revisit their lows. I do think there's a lot of potential upside to this company over the course of time. So to get from where they closed on Friday back to where they were on August 11th, which was just, you know, about 1 month ago, that'd be almost a 55% increase in the price of this stock. So if Bitcoin was just to get back to about 25,000, I think it would be fair to say that CORZ Scientific would get back, and this would be an extremely realistic price target. So, you know, over the next 30, 60, 90 days, I see this as a very viable price target, provided Bitcoin gets a little bit healthy in that time frame. Obviously, again, a lot of this is going to depend on the health of Bitcoin. Okay, so last thing I'm going to look at, if they were able to get back to where they were in March, and remember, we had a nice relief rally with Bitcoin in March. Bitcoin did get up to about $48,000. So now by the end of the year, CORZ Scientific will have more than doubled its exahash since March. So, you know, taking those 2 things into account, if Bitcoin can get somewhat healthy in that $30,000 to $35,000 range, I think this is an extremely reasonable price target. So I don't know if that's going to take 6 months, a year, 2 years, or if it's ever going to happen. But to me, these are my price targets that I'm looking for on the upside. That is a 324% potential increase in the price of this stock. So there's kind of the risk reward analysis that I've done. You guys got to do your own due diligence, of course. So please be careful while investing. All these Bitcoin miners, I always like to repeat this message. The Bitcoin miners are extremely volatile. Bitcoin's a volatile asset. So please do your due diligence and invest carefully. So that's what I got for you on CORZ Scientific. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.